I'm so glad that you're here because today I'm launching a new macrame DIY series on YouTube. Every month I will create a new DIY kit for you to purchase on my Etsy shop so you can make your own macrame creations at home. Today is the launch of my September design, which is this macrame wall hanging. This is perfect for beginners or people that just haven't done macrame in a while and are looking to pick it back up. Below I have a link to my Etsy shop that has the kit for this design available to purchase, which includes everything you need to make it. Without further ado, let's jump into today's tutorial. If you purchase the kit, you will already have these items, but if you are purchasing these items on your own, you will need at least a 10-inch piece of driftwood or a wooden dowel, 16 pieces of rope, approximately 75 inches in length. We will fold those in half to put on the wooden dowel or driftwood piece, and a piece of rope approximately 20 inches for the hanger on the driftwood. Some other things that you may need that are not included in the kit would be some scissors, some tape, and possibly a ruler if you're as anal about getting everything as straight as possible as I am. If you've already purchased the kit, this will be done for you, but the first thing we'll want to do is create 2 slip knots on the 20-inch piece of rope to put on our piece of driftwood to hang it. If you bought the materials separately, I will show you how to do that now. So you are going to crisscross the rope this way, put the little tiny piece under like that. You're not going to pull it tight here, but you're going to create a separate little loop like this, and the rope will go through that little hole. And then you pull that tight. And if you created it correctly, the rope should be able to move up and down on the piece of rope. We'll repeat that process on the other side. So I'll flip it around, cross the rope over, pull it through here, and then cross it back over and put the rope through the little hoop there. Pull it tight, and so both sides should be adjustable. And then you'll go ahead and throw it on each piece of the wood. Pull it tight and pull it tight. And there you go. Now let's get started. Before we get started, you'll somehow want to attach your working piece of wood to something. So right now I just have this pole that I taped my hanger to, but feel free to tape your hanger down to like the table or something where it won't be able to move once you start working. This is where I have mine now. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is attach all of our 16 pieces of 75-inch long rope. So you'll first get your rope. You're going to fold each piece in half, match up the ends. And how we're going to put on the pieces of rope is called a Larks Head knot. And how you do that is, here's the top loop of the folded piece of rope. You're going to put it through the top, and see how there's that little hole at the bottom? You are going to pull the rope through there and pull it tight, just like that. And you're going to do that for each 16 pieces of rope. So I'm going to speed it up here real quick just to show you how it's done. Now you're going to want to make sure they're all nice and straight. You'll want all these little knots to be in like a nice straight row, so you just gotta wiggle them around to make sure they get into the right spot. And now we're ready to start our design. I moved us in just a little bit closer so we can get started on learning our first knot of the project. So the first knot that we're going to learn is a square knot, and we're going to do many square knots so it will create a triangle shape here. So we're gonna start on the left side. So you're gonna wanna grab 4 pieces of rope, and every time you do a square knot, you always have 4 pieces of rope in your hand. You have 2 as your working center pieces of rope, and then the 2 on either end are the ones that you're gonna be wrapping around the 2 center pieces. So how you do your first square knot, it's really 2 separate knots, I would say, that create the square knot as a whole. So the first thing that you do is take your right piece, so I guess the 4th piece of rope in your hand, you're gonna cross it over the front of these 2 middle pieces. Then you're gonna take this rope, it's gonna go in front of this guy here, and then behind the 2 working ropes, and then through this hole here, and pull it through. And pull that tight. So that's the first half of this square knot. Now you're gonna do the exact opposite. Now you're gonna have your left side in the front. This piece is gonna go in front of this, behind, and through. And then you're gonna pull it tight. And that's a square knot. See how it has these 2 lines here, and then you got like 1 straight piece here. That's how you know you did the square knot correctly. So then you're gonna continue on doing square knots for this whole entire row. So we'll grab the next 4 pieces of rope. Again, the 2 center ones will be where we're gonna be tying our knots on, and then the 2 outer pieces are the ones that are gonna be wrapped around the 2 middle pieces. So again, we're gonna start with the right side. We're gonna make that little loop. This guy is gonna go in front, then behind, and through. Pull it tight. Same thing, but opposite. Now the left side's gonna be up. This is gonna go over, and behind, and through. Pull it tight. Show you one more. So you grab the next 4 there, split it, you'll have your 2 in the middle and 2 on the outside. You're gonna start with the right, cross it over, make the little loop. This guy will go in front, behind, and through. Pull it tight. Same thing but opposite. Left side, pull this one down, around and behind, pull it through, and pull it tight. So I'm gonna speed it up, I'm gonna do the rest of this row. Perfect, now I just push them all to the front, make sure they're all in a nice little row. And great, you guys learned your first knot and you got your first row completed. Now we want to continue with this pattern in a diagonal form. And how we do that is every time we start a new row, we take the outer 2 pieces, and I kind of just wrap them around my wood just to get them out of the way. Because once they're out of the way, then I'm just working with what's in front of me here. So now I'm going to continue with the square knot pattern. So when I grab 4 new ones, it's going to be the combination of 2 of our square knots in our row above. So now these 2 are going to be our working ropes where we wrap these outer guys around. So same thing that we did in the first row, wrap it around, pull it tight, left side, wrap it around, and pull it tight. And now we're going to continue for the rest of the row. Perfect, row number 2 done. So now we move on to row number 3. We're going to do the same thing as we did in row number 2. Take your outer 2 pieces of rope and put them over your pieces of wood. So now this is what we're working with. Now we'll continue on with square knots all the way across. Perfect, row 3 finished. Now we're gonna continue removing 2 on each side until we get to 1 single square knot at the bottom. So I'm just gonna fast forward through this just so we get to the end of our triangle. Perfect, we just ended with our last square knot. So I'm just gonna take my work, pull it all down, and finish the first part of the wall hanging. So the next step to this wall hanging is creating a nice little frame around this triangle of square knots that we created. And how we do that is with a knot called Double Half Hitch. So I will just go ahead and show you how to do it. So on each end, we have this piece of rope, which will become our working piece of rope, in which all of these other ropes will be eventually wrapped around to create a nice straight line. So starting on the left side, any way that you have this rope in your hand is the way that your line's gonna go. So like for example, if I had this pointed this way, a line would be created going this way. If it was created this way, then it would go this way. However, we want a nice straight line to be created along our triangle of square knots. So I'm gonna make sure that I keep this outer rope pointed in this direction at all times. So let's create our first knot. So a double half hitch means each piece of rope is wrapped around this rope twice, a double half hitch. So how to do that is, so here's our working piece of rope that we're always gonna hold at an angle. We're gonna grab the next piece of rope in line and we are going to throw it over this piece. So I'm just gonna throw it over right now. So that's where we're at here. This little loop here, we're gonna grab this rope through the loop, holding this guy at an angle that we want to create the straight line, and then the second rope is through here, and now we're just going to pull it, and that's the first knot. And we're going to wrap this around twice since it's a double half hitch, so we're going to do the same thing again. So this is going to be pulled over our straight rope. See how it's coming through? We're going to pull that and pull it straight. So that's a double half hitch knot. So now we're going to continue with each piece of rope, wrapping it around this rope twice until we get to the center here. So I will do one more as an example. So here's the second rope. It's going to go over this rope. It's going to go through this hole, and we're going to pull it out. That's the first half. We're going to tie it tight there and do it again. We're going to throw it over and then grab it through the loop and pull it tight. That's our second knot. Let me show you one more time. Here's the third piece of rope. We are going to throw it over this guy, just like that. Pull it tight. And one more time. Over and pull it tight. And notice how the whole entire time I'm pulling it tight, I'm not really moving this piece of rope at all. I'm kind of just holding it in this hand, and then my left hand is what's doing all of the work. So I'm just going to continue with that down this row, and then I'll meet you back on this side. And then once we get to the middle knot here, there's going to be 2 in the center. Only the left one will be included in this row. So that'll be our last one of this row. Okay, that was our first line of double half hitch knots. Now we're gonna do the same thing, but on the right side. Let me just turn this a little bit so you can see. So this will be our working yarn, or working rope, I'm sorry, that we're gonna keep straight, and then all of these guys are gonna get wrapped around this guy. So just the same thing from the opposite direction. We're holding this one straight in our left hand. We're going to throw the rope over and through this hole, just like that, and we're going to pull it tight. That's the first half of the knot, and now same thing again. Over, under, and through the loop, pull it straight. That's the second half, so that's the double half hitch. Do it again with the next piece of rope in the row, holding this rope straight. We're gonna go down, around, and through the loop. Pull it tight. And you don't want to pull too tight. You want it to be a little bit loose, because once you start pulling it tight, it'll start ruining your square knots that you've done. So make sure it's close to the square knot, but you're not yanking it so tight that it distorts your design that you have here. So that was the first half of the double half hitch, and we're gonna wrap it around one more time. Pull it through and pull it tight. And we'll continue until we get to the bottom here. And then as we get to this bottom knot, this back one's going to be hiding a little bit behind this row, but there is one more in there if you see that. So make sure you get that one more on the right side. 1, 2, perfect. So to finish off these rows, to connect these two, I'm going to do just a single, like a half hitch instead of a double. So I'm going to continue using this piece as my working rope, and I'm going to wrap this side's working rope around it just once. So pull it just like that and pull it tight. So just to connect the two. Perfect. Now we have our triangle finished. So now that we've created this nice triangle, the next step is to create some V's. So we're going to do a V of square knots, a V of the double half hitch knots, and then another V of square knots to finish this off. So if you want to get very specific and very accurate, let's pull out the ruler. I think I want to start the V at around 3 inches down from our first double half hitch knot, so right about there. So we'll grab 4 pieces of rope, and we'll eyeball that section again. It was right around here. We'll grab 4 pieces of rope, and we're going to start our square knots. So we'll do it just like we did before. The 2 ropes in the center, and then the 2 ropes on the outside. Cross over the right side first. Left rope over top and behind. And we're not going to pull it super tight. We want to keep this one a little bit loose, just so it doesn't pull on any of the other ropes since we got some distance. And now we're going to do the same thing, but on the opposite side. Left in front, the right guy over the left, behind, through, and pull. See, sometimes when we pull a little too tight, these get a little messed up. The benefit of keeping it just a little loose is you can fix it, make them all straight, and then retighten it back up, so these areas don't get too pulled. Key is keep it loose and then tighten it at the end once you have that second knot in there. So now to get that V shape, we're going to do the same square knot, but every time we're going to drop the outer 2. I guess we can put them up here just like we did up here, and grab the next 2. So now this is going to be our new square knot, and it's going to kind of be on a level below this guy, so it'll be like right here. Same thing, we'll have our 2 ropes and the 2 in the center, cross over right, left over top, through here, and pull. Again, keep it kind of loose. You don't want it to get all janky right here. Just like that. Left, cross over the front, right, back, through, and pull it tight. just like that, and see how that one's the next step down? That's exactly how we want it. So then we'll take 2 ropes, put them up, grab the next 2, same thing. The right cross over the top, the left over the right, into the back, through the loop, pull, keep it loose, same thing but on the left side, left, right, back, pull it tight, perfect. And now we'll keep doing that until we get to the center here. Perfect. Then we'll put all these down. See how that's making a nice diagonal line? So now we're going to do the same thing on this side. So we'll grab our 4 pieces and we'll try our best to line it up with that first. We'll just eyeball it. We don't need to pull out the ruler again. So same thing, 2 in the middle, 2 on the outside, right crossover, left behind. Does that look even? I think so. Same thing on the left side. And pull it tight. Perfect. We'll put up 2 and grab the next 2. Split it up, right crossover, left behind. Remember, keep it a little loose. Same thing but on the opposite side. Pull it tight. Perfect. We'll continue on this side until we are meeting in the middle with the left side. Perfect. Now we finished both rows. See how we have that nice V? So we're going to connect the 2 separate sides now. So we'll take 2 from the left and we'll take 2 from the right, and then we'll create a square knot to finish off this V. Perfect. So next step is to create this double half hitch again down here. So it'll be a nice little outline for our V shape. So we'll mimic exactly what we did on the top. The outer rows will be our working rope, and then all this other rope will be wrapped around it to create that V straight line shape. So we'll pull this one straight on the left side. We'll take our second rope, pull it over and through, just like that. Pull it tight. Same thing again, because we have to do it twice since it's a double half hitch. And 2. There's our 2 there. We'll continue on with the next rope. Throw it over. Pull it tight. That's 1. Throw it over. Pull it tight. That's 2. Continue on down until you get to the first half side of that middle knot we had created. That'll be our last double half hitch on this side. And then when we're coming to the middle again, we're just going to grab the 1 piece on the left side to finish it off. Perfect. Now we'll do the same thing on the right side. Get our outermost piece of rope, put it on the angle. We're going to grab the second piece, wrap it around and through that little loop. Pull it tight. Same thing, wrap it around, pull it tight, and that's the first knot. And again, make sure you keep this rope on a nice angle because that'll be the direction that your line will go in. Do it again, wrap it around, pull it tight, one more time, wrap it around, pull it tight. Perfect. and I'll continue on. I'll meet you back in the center. So now that we're back in the center again, I'm going to do the same thing that I did up here and just do 1 half hitch. So since I was working on this side, I'm going to continue with this as my working rope, and the left working rope I'm going to put underneath. I'm going to wrap it around and through the hole, pull it, and then just pull it tight, and that'll be finishing off that row. So now the next thing that we have to do, I'm going to push this back just a little so you can see more fully, is just 1 more row of square knots like we did above here. And we already know how to do this. I'll do the first one and then I'm just going to fast forward through the rest. So there's the first half of the knot, and then the second half of the knot. Perfect. And then we'll continue on. We'll put these guys up here and grab the next 2. And then we'll continue down. So I'll fast forward as I finish this up. Perfect, now we're back in the center. As you can see, when I fast forwarded a little bit, I wasn't putting all of my rope up here. You don't have to. Sometimes it just helps to know which ropes you have to grab next. But if you know that it's the next 2 in the row, and then you don't have to do that. But continue if you would like. So same thing, but on the other side. See how I stopped the last rope on this side, and then we're going to do this row, and then we're going to connect them in the 2 in the center here. So we'll go ahead and start. All right, now that I'm at the bottom, I'm going to take 2 from the left side and 2 from the right side and create 1 knot at the bottom to finish it off. 1 and 2. Perfect. Now we're all done with all of our knots. Now the last thing to do is give this a nice snip at the bottom to clean up the edges. There, so I just pulled it up a little bit. Now I'm going to give it a nice little clip. It can be however long or however short that you'd like it to be. I kind of like mine to be on the longer end. So, or if you want to leave it with the fringy edges, go for it. Sometimes it looks cute with like the messy fringy look. But I'm just going to go for a clean edge. So I'm going to grab everything that's on this side, and I kind of do a little V. So instead of just cutting it straight, I go just on a little diagonal. I'm going to go down a little bit more, right about there. And see how it created that little, like a subtle, very, very subtle V? So I'm going to do the same thing on the right side. Just a little subtle V. Perfect. And sometimes I always screw up one side and I have to do another separate trim on the other, so I'm just gonna do a little tiny trim on this side to match the right. There we go. And one other thing I like to do, you don't have to do this, but just to kind of mess up the bottom edges just a little bit, I kind of just take a comb and fluff them out a little bit. Again, you don't have to do this if you like the cleaner edge look, but I kind of like it when they're a little messy on the bottom. And there you go. That is it. You guys just finished your first macrame wall hanging. And here's our finished product. Looks great. I hope everyone's macrame wall hanging turned out great. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel for monthly designs and follow me on Instagram for more macrame fun.